I set a trap for my coworker without saying a single word, and I watched it destroy him in front of the entire restaurant. Let me tell you exactly how it happened. I work at a resort here in the United States, and not just any resort, the kind of place that pulls in guests from every corner of the world. Europe, Asia, South America, you name it. Big money, big personalities, and big expectations every single night. Most nights, I love this job. I have been doing it for over 20 years and I am genuinely good at it. But every workplace has that one person who makes things difficult. And at our resort, that person was Kyle. Now let me paint you a picture of Kyle. Kyle is the kind of guy who walks into a room and immediately starts looking for someone to put down. He mocks guests for what they wear. He makes jokes about people's weight. He tears down anyone around him just to feel a little more important. In all my years of working with people, Kyle was hands down the biggest case of short man syndrome I had ever seen in my life. And trust me, I have seen a lot. So a few weeks ago, something really nice happened at work. I started waiting on this couple from Brazil, absolute sweethearts. Warm, fun, genuinely enjoying every single moment of their vacation. They had such a good time their first night that they specifically requested me again, and again. And again, 3 or 4 more nights in a row. I was genuinely touched. That kind of loyalty from guests is rare and it means everything in this industry. But here is where it gets complicated. They never tipped, not once. Every single night they would sit down, enjoy themselves, rack up a bill in the hundreds of dollars, and leave that tip line completely blank. Every single time. Now look, I am not going to pretend that does not sting a little. Of course it does. But here is the thing about being truly good at your job for 2 decades. You figure out how to make it work. I smiled, I gave them the same great service every night, and I made up for it with my other tables. No bitterness, no attitude, just professionalism. Because that is what you do when you actually take pride in what you do. Then came their last night at the resort. I was scheduled behind the bar that evening, and the floor was completely packed. No open tables in my section whatsoever. So when the Brazilian couple walked in, the host sat them in the only available spot in the building, Kyle's section. And the moment I saw that, something lit up inside me. A little voice in my head said, "This is your moment. Do not waste it." So I walked over to Kyle, calm as anything, and pulled him aside. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Hey man, just so you know, I have waited on that couple every single night this week. And I do not care what the bill was, they left me 2 crisp $100 bills without fail, every single time." I watched his whole face change in real time. His eyes got wide. A slow smile crept across his face. He stood up a little straighter and said, "And I will never forget this. Watch this. I bet I can get 300 out of them." What followed was honestly one of the most entertaining things I have ever witnessed behind a bar. Kyle became a completely different human being. Suddenly he was charming. Suddenly he was attentive. He was laughing at their jokes, refilling their drinks before they even had to ask, checking in every 5 minutes with that big customer service smile plastered across his face. The man was putting on a full Broadway performance for this one table. His other tables, though, practically invisible. Waiting around with empty glasses and zero attention while Kyle poured every ounce of energy into chasing that imaginary $300 tip. I just stayed behind the bar and watched, quietly, patiently. Then the meal ended. The couple called for the check and started gathering their things to leave. And as they stood up, the boyfriend turned and walked straight past Kyle. He came directly over to me at the bar. He shook my hand with a big warm smile, slipped something into my palm, and told me what a wonderful server I had been all week, and that I truly deserved it. Kyle saw the whole thing from across the room. I could feel his eyes burning a hole through me, but here is what Kyle did not know. When I looked down at my hand, it was a $10 bill. The couple had done exactly what they always did, nothing on the check, just a small, kind goodbye handshake to me on their way out. I tucked it into my pocket and said nothing. Then I watched Kyle walk over to that table and pick up the checkbook. What happened next was absolutely priceless. His face went through about 5 different emotions in about 4 seconds flat. First confusion, then he looked closer at the check, then disbelief, then his jaw tightened, then pure, unfiltered, red-faced anger. He looked up slowly from that checkbook, and his eyes found me immediately behind the bar. I gave him the biggest thumbs up I could manage and smiled like I had just won the lottery. He shook his head, stormed over to me, and completely lost it, cursing about the couple, cursing about me, his face getting redder and redder with every single word coming out of his mouth. Going on about foreigners, about knockoffs, about how unfair it all was. And I just stood there behind that bar, calm, smiling, completely unbothered. He sulked around for the rest of that entire shift like somebody had completely deflated him. Barely said a word to anyone. Just dragging himself from table to table with the energy of a man who had been genuinely humbled. And after 20 years of watching guys like Kyle walk through life, stepping on everyone around them, I want you to know that watching him get brought down a few pegs that night was one of the most deeply satisfying moments of my entire career. The moral of the story is simple. Treat people with respect. Every single person, your coworkers, your guests, the couple from Brazil who never tips, all of them. Because when you carry yourself with class and do your job with genuine pride, the universe has a funny way of setting things up for you. Sometimes the most perfect revenge requires zero planning. All you have to do is tell one little truth, step back, and let the thumbs up do the rest. And that, my friends, is how you handle a Kyle.